fresh oysters straight from the shell, a whiskey distillery in an abandoned doll factory, and a Galway hooker. This week, we're in Ireland.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink Podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies, because the best part of any trip is the food. I'm Brent Peterson, and this week I thought we'd celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Galway for beers besides Guinness, Donegal for a quick day trip, and the Wild Atlantic Way for oysters and half pints of Guinness, plus much, much more. So if you love Ireland or are planning a trip to the Emerald Isle like me, this episode is for you, and I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Mickela Mallozzi is the Emmy Award-winning host and producer of the PBS TV show Bare Feet. She tells me about filming her show in Ireland, fresh oysters, and a wonderful bar on Ireland's Wild Atlantic Way. You spent quite a bit of time in Ireland, and you did one great episode on the Wild Atlantic Way. For folks who don't know, where is the Wild Atlantic Way in Ireland exactly?
Yeah, so the Wild Atlantic Way is the entire western coast that goes down from Kinsale all the way up to Malin Head. It's literally the bottom tip of the island of Ireland, all the way up to County Donegal, so County Cork, all along the Atlantic coast. And it is stunning. The southwestern part of the Wild Atlantic Way, I know very well. I work with the Dingle Peninsula. We did an episode called Wild Atlantic Way for season 3. And then for season 7, we decided let's do the Wild Atlantic Way northern part. So Sligo, Donegal, and it is wild. It is absolutely wild because you have these, Cliffs of Moher are part of the Wild Atlantic Way, just to give you an idea of what it feels like, what it looks like. It's rugged. There's incredible fish. There's incredible music. It's the Gaeltacht, which is like where they speak Irish in some parts in Donegal, in Southwest Kerry. And it's just gorgeous. It's like why I fell in love with Ireland, why I keep falling in love with Ireland. You know, I'll be speaking at TBEX. I'll be keynoting at TBEX in Donegal, and that's part of the Wild Atlantic Way. But they started that campaign calling it the Wild Atlantic Way 10 years ago. It just celebrated its 10-year anniversary. And it really is, if you go along the coast, you'll see this sign that has like a wiggly wave and a W that goes a couple times. So you're along the Wild Atlantic Way. But you just look at the coast. You're on the coast.
There's no mistaking it.
There's no mistake. And you know what? It feels a lot like the coasts of Portugal.
Yes.
Right? There's surfing. It's very similar terrain and feel. A little bit colder, just a little bit, but it's the Atlantic Ocean. So it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But it's stunning. And there's amazing food. And we got to go to Sligo oysters, the Sligo oyster experience.
How were the oysters?
Oh, they were gorgeous. We had them in the shop, and then we were able to go to the oyster bed before high tide was coming in. We had about 45 minutes. We were getting nervous because the van had to drive out onto the water. Oh. And Aisling is the wife, and her husband Glenn. She manages the cafe, and she was our guide. And then her husband Glenn, who's hilarious. If you see him in the video, he's kind of your typical Irish, like, very cheeky, but also like super dry humor, salt of the earth, literally. And, you know, they're out there. I was shaking the oyster bags, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And the oysters were beautiful. They're gorgeous, gorgeous. And they've opened the cafe. You can have more than just oysters there, but they wanted to have a place where you could actually have the oysters, because a lot of them are exported, right? A lot of them are exported to France. But they were like, we want Sligo, people here in Sligo, to have a taste of the place. Sligo, I forget how you say it in Esquelga, in Gaelic, but it means shelly place because there were so much shellfish. Yeah. So, but Sligo itself, I'd never been. I'd never been to the northern part of the Republic of Ireland. It was my first time. And these episodes that we did, it was all places I had never been to before, even like personally, I'd never been. And Sligo is such a cool little town. I think it's a hidden gem. And I'm not just saying that, like, we got there and we're like, this is the coolest. There's a river that runs right through. It's so sweet. There's all these little cafes and pubs, and there's a river through it. You're by the water. It's a cool town, really cool town. And everyone is so nice. In Ireland, everyone's so nice.
Yes.
They're the best. They're the best.
If you're enjoying this episode, take a minute to rate and review Destination Eat Drink on your podcast app. It just takes a moment, and it helps other foodie travelers just like you find the show. And thank you very much. We were watching the show, me and Karen, and you were in a place called Farron's Bar. And Karen, Mickela, you ordered a half pint of Guinness. So you got the little glass, and Karen goes, yeah, see, she's just like me. She gets the half pint. Because, I always tease Karen when she gets the little half pint.
I am a glass, it's so funny because up north, well, I guess in Northern Ireland, they don't call it a glass, but in the rest of Ireland, you call it a glass of Guinness is a half pint, right? And that's what they used to serve for women back in the day. Mm-hmm. I love half pints because I'm a bit of a slow Guinness drinker. And if I got a full pint, by the time I would get halfway through, it'd be warm and flat. And so my trick is I get the half pint and I'm good for the day. P.S. That half pint was the best Guinness. And I love Guinness. That was the best Guinness I've ever had in my life. Because it was pretty cold and we were biking for a while, and our crew, they were in this van. And so we were trying to meet them at Farron's, and the driver didn't know the area and got a little lost. So we're waiting there in the cold and driving around trying to find them. So by the time we got there, I was like, I just want a Guinness. Like I needed something. And it was like it just left this beautiful creamy film, and that's when you know it's a really good Guinness. And we just down as soon as we got that cilantro, I was like, I need that Guinness.
You've been biking, you're tired, and it was a lot. I was
freezing.
So
it was freezing. I was a little underdressed because we weren't expecting to be out for so long, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. But also the taps are running all the time. I think it's one of the few bars they said that has a 23-hour license. Oh. So they're only closed for 1 hour of the day because the fishermen, they're going out so early and they need to come in for pints, of course. Yeah. So they're open 23 hours. It's crazy. So the taps are always running. That's what makes a good Guinness. You don't want to go, any Guinness isn't the same. It's because if the taps keep running and they're getting a lot of airflow, then your Guinness is going to be nice and frothy and beautiful. And I've learned this because I keep going back to Ireland and I love Ireland, and I just had to do my research.
Right. Got to put the work in, Mickela.
But it's a miraculous bar. It literally is the most northerly bar in all of Ireland, on the island of Ireland. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Gráinne Lawlor is the brains behind Flavour Trails, a tour company that takes visitors on whiskey and food tours in Dublin and all over Ireland. She tells me about the Cliffs of Moher and Donegal.
Burren is the area where the cliffs are based in. It's a 250 square kilometre limestone landscape. It's the only place in the world where alpine, tropical and Arctic flowers grow at the same time.
Cool.
It's amazing. It's where J.R. Tolkien lived before he wrote Lord of the Rings. It is literally Middle Earth. And people tend to go to the cliffs and drive through the Burren to get to Galway, which is amazing. Galway's amazing. But they miss out so much in the Burren. It's this amazing ecosystem where we have amazing cheese, the Burren Smokehouse, which is smoked salmon, oysters. We have the Hazel Mountain Chocolate Factory. There's a tiny percentage of chocolate factories around the world that actually, make their own chocolate, which sounds really weird thing to say. They're one of them. They're amazing. So there's so much to see and do and explore. We have Neolithic sites there as well, like Paul-na-Brone, which is this amazing standing stone. So we wanted to give people the opportunity to go and see a major site, but also be able to stay in the area of the cliffs, because there is so much to see and do there. Doolin is a little village where my parents were 50 years married this year. That's where we chose to go to celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. It's the spiritual home of traditional Irish music. So there's so much to be explored in that little corner. So we wanted to be able to bring people out for the day, or if they wanted to stay overnight. the major site is there, but the hook is the food, the drinks. We've got amazing distilleries over there as well, the Mickela distillery. And be able to do that in a small group and dictate the tour yourself. So give you lots of options. You choose maybe 3 options from the list for the things that suit you best. There's foraging available over there. Some of the best lamb that's available. So a little place that people go for the cliffs, but don't realize there's a whole world going on there that we can introduce them to.
Yeah, I took the train, Karen and I took the train out to Galway to see our friends Rick and Bridget out there, and we had a great time. Galway's fun, and I recommend people to go there. You'll see lots of hen and stag parties out there, undoubtedly, but it's still fun. It's still worth it. But we didn't get off the train. We just took the train straight from Dublin out there and didn't stop along the way, and you're opening up a whole new world for me on this Clare tour, Gráinne. So super cool. Good on you. And then you guys are doing the Wicklow tour, and I'm reading about this, and there's something called, you've got berry wines out there. I'm a wine drinker. I've been known to enjoy a glass or two. What are berry wines exactly?
Listen, I was skeptical, let me tell you. I was like, is berry wine even wine? So we went out, and I imagined when we went, Wicklow is an area outside of Dublin. It's known as the Garden of Ireland. It is mountainous. It's got lakes. It's beautiful. So I was expecting this waif-like woman to be floating through rows of blackberries and raspberries. And I arrived to an industrial estate, and I met a Californian man called Brad. And I was like, this is not what I was expecting. And it's one of the single best experiences I've had in Ireland around food and beverages. The education was amazing. The access to his process was unparalleled. You could see it's very much a family business, and his children were running around trying to hurry him on through the tour. You know, he's so passionate about it. And then they did amazing wine tasting with food pairings at the end of the tour. And I really, really enjoyed it. It's one of those ones that I sort of try and push people towards because they were as skeptical as I was. But I was really was a massive fan of it.
Sounds great. So what kind of berries are they fermenting? Blackberries, raspberries, blueberries?
And strawberries.
Strawberries.
3, Blackberries, raspberries, and strawberries, and raspberries. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is it? What is wine other than fermented fruit? So why not?
Absolutely. I know there's some pilot schemes down in Wexford. I'm originally from Wexford, which is in the southeast of Ireland, for growing grapes as the temperatures are rising. So there's some pilot schemes going on down there at the moment. So you may see Irish wine in the future. I was sort of the opinion, let's stick to Irish wine, which is whiskey. But this really opened my mind to the fact that, we don't grow a lot of fruit in Ireland either. We grow apples and berries. A few pears, but that's it. So it was really nice to see, the biodiversity that comes with growing different types of fruits and encouraging people to do that again here. So yeah, it was a lovely experience.
There's no doubt it's coming. I mean, climate change has required vintners and vineyards to move either to higher elevations or more northern latitudes. And so eventually, it may not be during my lifetime, but at some point they're going to be producing gold medal wines in Ireland. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
For more food and travel, check out destinationeatdrink.com. I just posted a new video from France and Italy about the best sweets and desserts on the Riviera. There's an amazing lemon tart in Menton, rich hot chocolate in Genoa, and a dessert with a surprising ingredient. You can see that video by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com or go to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@destinationeatdrink946. I've also got a couple new food and travel ebooks available from the mountains of Abruzzo, Italy. There's L'Aquila, a city that survived a devastating earthquake 17 years ago and is fighting back with a great spirit, and some amazing food, like the best Tyrone I've ever had. Download those ebooks at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink, and thank you very much. Let's talk about Donegal because I've never been there. It's been on my list, but haven't made it yet. What's there to do in Donegal?
Donegal is, the pinnacle of Irishness, in my opinion.
Okay.
So we have 3 Gaeltacht areas in Ireland. If you live in the Gaeltacht, you speak Irish all the time. And when we're in school, we learn one of the 3 dialects. So Donegal was not my dialect. But as we say in Ireland, if you don't use it, you lose it. So you have to try and keep your Irish up. And a number of years ago, we went to Donegal, to the Gaeltacht up there, even though it was the wrong dialect. But I wanted to see how different it would be. And oh my word, I just fell in love with the whole county. It's probably the last wild outpost in Europe. It's quite remote.
Oh.
It's difficult to get to. So a lot of people don't visit there when they come here on holidays.
That's why.
So we wanted to give people an opportunity to go up there. One of my favorite whiskey distilleries on the island is up there, Crawley, which is really far north as well. So they've opened an airport that last year was named the most scenic airport in the world. You get to land on the beach up in Donegal. So we fly you up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we pick you up at your airport. We're going to bring you to the, at your hotel. We'll transfer you to the airport, get you on your little airplane, fly up to Donegal. Only takes a few minutes. Land up there. You get picked up by your driver guide. And then again, a number of options up there because we've Glenveigh National Park. So if you're a hiker, we can bring you up hiking. We've got a couple of distilleries that we love, Schlied League, which are actually higher cliffs than the Cliffs of Moher. Oh. We have the Crawley Distillery, which was an old doll factory. So sufficient amount of creepiness there as well, which we love. And they have reconditioned brandy stills that they transformed into whiskey stills that are absolutely stunning. Irish music just thrives. If you know of Enya, who's probably the highest grossing Irish artist. Yeah, amazing. She is from up there, and her family, we're a band called Clannad. They have a pub up there. Oh, wow. So scenery, again, we're back into food, like lamb again, cheese, castles. Like, what else could you want? So you stay overnight, do another activity the following morning, and then we get you back to the airport, fly back to Dublin. So it's literally, if you want to do 24 hours in Donegal, we can do that. If you want to stay another couple of days, that's also extremely achievable. So, we were very excited to bring people to that part of the country.
Yeah, I was surprised when I read that you fly people up there. I was like, well, why not just take a bus or a train? But I guess it's so remote that it would take all day to get up there. You might as well hop on a plane and be there in a few minutes, right?
Absolutely. And even the roads, it's difficult enough to get up there. You want to be sort of going for a few days. Whereas if you have a limited time, this is a way we can get you up and back down and have a pretty unique experience while doing it.
Sheena Dignam is a foodie guide from Galway Food Tours. She tells me about her city and gives some great pub recommendations. What makes the local oysters in Galway so special?
Galway, being on the Wild Atlantic Way, that rugged coastline, there are so many natural beds for oysters to grow. I don't know if you know, but you need a perfect amount of river water and seawater in order for them to grow. And they grow beautifully along here. We have a lot of Pacific oysters that are eaten all year round. Very nice, quite salty, and quite a lot of meat in it. But then from the month of September to the end of December, that's when we have the return of our native oysters, which are a flat shell oyster. And those are the bomb. They are so good, really creamy, very nutty. I just live for September when it comes back. And then we have this oyster festival, that's, this year we took it to the streets where there's great live music and, oysters, with sorbet oysters, hot oysters, oysters, whatever way you were thinking, you can have them, and it's just such a great celebration, and to celebrate these wonderful beauty native oysters.
Oyster Festival sounds like fun. What's your favorite way to have oysters? What's your favorite preparation method?
Just as they are. I just really love the taste, and I love to chew them, and I love the native oyster. It just keeps on giving. It keeps on, you taste it, and then maybe 2 minutes later, you still have that lovely nuttiness at the back. I just love that, I don't think you need anything else. Now, I wouldn't say no to a pint of the black stuff as well beside it, but that's...
I was just going to ask you, what would you pair it with? So you're going to have a Guinness with it?
Yeah. We have really nice local stouts as well that that I would recommend having with it as well. So yeah, or a glass of wine. I'm not going to say no either, but we don't grow grapes in Ireland. Well, there's one guy who's making that experiment, and he does a good job of it, but not white wine anyway for the moment. Maybe with climate change.
Yeah, I was talking to Gráinne Lawlor from Dublin, and she was saying, because of climate change, that, folks are starting to experiment. And my reaction was, within a generation or two, it's undoubtedly going to happen in Ireland that they're going to start growing successfully wine grapes. I may not be around to see it, but you certainly will. It's happening. It's going to happen.
It's happening.
It's migrating north, and for all the bad parts of climate change, and there are innumerable amounts of that.
Opportunity.
There is exactly. There is opportunity.
If you look at Kent and what they're growing, and like people from the Champagne region investing heavily in southern UK, it's like, wow, you can see if they're investing, there's something happening here, and their champagnes are they're not champagnes because they're not made from that area, but their sparkling wines are beautiful, really, really nice.
Let's dive into the beer, because you mentioned the black stuff. And when you say that, I immediately think of Guinness. But, Guinness is, maybe it's ubiquitous, but it's not the only choice. I think of when I go to Cork, I'm not necessarily drinking Guinness. There's other beers to drink. And when I was in Galway, I had some Guinness, but I had some other stuff too. Tell me, what are your favorite beers besides Guinness? Your maybe stouts, maybe other kinds that you enjoy when we were in Galway.
Well, you've got, I suppose, there are very different types of beers. Like Cork would take it very seriously, as you said, with the Beamish and the Murphys,
Yes.
And Galway, we have two main breweries that are really interesting. One is called Galway Hooker. Galway Hooker, by the way,
it's a funny term for us, because hooker has a different meaning in English.
Yeah, totally.
In American English.
That and crack, I mean, those two things you have to explain off the bat,
Crack can mean a lot of different things in American English, but
exactly.
That's good stuff.
So basically, that's the emblem of Galway, is those beautiful boats. They've got a black base, 3 red sails, and they were used for fishing a lot. So that's why this brewery decided to call their beer Galway Hooker, which they actually make really nice IPAs. They make nice reds, and they make kind of session ales as well. Then you also have the guys, you have Soul Water, which are like gypsy brewers. Now, those are the ones we would have on our tours, where they have one beer called Bulletproof, which is an IPA, and also Stout, which is called Kojak. And that's kind of like, it's got a really nice kind of like coffee taste to it, a little bit stronger coffee taste than what would be a normal Guinness, let's say, put in perspective, a little bit more on the heavier side. And then you also have the guys from Galway Bay Brewery. They're quite big now all over Ireland, and they have probably 20 different types of beers that they range from lagers, pills to stouts, and doing really interesting things. And it's great to see that evolution of, I suppose, they started out in this distillery, a brewery, which is now a distillery out in Salt Hill, and they are now they're still brewing in Galway, but they have opened a chain of pubs, that are serving their beers, etc. Kind of like the English model, I suppose, of types of, breweries where, the pubs kind of are adjacent to the breweries, and that's how they sell their beers,
Mm-hmm.
But now we have Mickela Distillery, which is nestled in that brewery now, and they do wonderful poutine. I don't know if you tried poutine before, Brent, haven't you?
I don't think so.
Poutine in Irish means little pot, so it's actually the foundation. It's non-aged whiskey, if you will. So it was our version of your moonshine. So yes, and it's really nice to see these guys, 6th generation poutine makers, 2 brothers. that are reviving their great grandfather's recipe, using plants that are indigenous from Connemara. And, because we weren't allowed to sell poutine for so many years, that it only became legal in the 90s that you're able to sell it off the shelf. So just reviving that whole side of the distilling process is really interesting. It's really nice to see the transformation from brewery to the distillery there as well.
So cool. And I'm always happy when I go to Ireland to see this new interest in different kinds of beers and craft beers and whatnot. When you're out and about and you're not heading a tour, where's your favorite place to go and grab a pint?
It's kind of like asking to choose your favorite child. Like, if you have a favorite child, I don't. Like, obviously I kind of do follow the places where they serve good Guinness, and they're, you've been to Ireland, there's so many different types of Guinness. I think flavor profile wise, you can have a really bad Guinness, therefore you're not going to go to that pub, or a good Guinness where the creaminess, is just there. There's no bubbles. You can kind of like put your glass to 40 angle degree, and the head of the beer won't go over, and just the flavor profile. So there's a lot of places in Galway that have great Guinness and have a great ambiance. I must say MP Walsh's is really nice. That would be a place that I would recommend. It's like this old, it used to be an old post office, and now it's this lovely place where all the locals go. Everybody knows each other. It's really nice. Nocton's as well is a really good place, full of history. It's still in the same family since 1894 as a pub. But before that, it was home to the Martin family, one of the 14 tribes of Galway who used to own that house back in the 1600s. So you can imagine that place is just etched and filled with history. And it's got a great snug, snug is a beautiful room that's annexed to the bar. And it's very, indigenous to Ireland. If you get a snug and you sit there and just drinking good pints, you could spend the whole night there easily. And where else would I say? Like, for good new selections of beers and always like having rotating taps, I would say Beer House would be also really good for a pint, and they have the really indulgent Irish cheese toasties. Like, they always change their cheeses because we've got so many great Irish cheeses as well in those toasties. And then also the Crane. I go to the Crane, old man pub, no frills, good pint of Guinness, and the music sessions are just off the charts. It's one of those places where you could have maybe 2 musicians rock up, or you could have 25 on the night, and it just makes for just a great atmosphere and just authentic atmosphere, I suppose.
Okay, there you go. That's Sheena from Galway Food Tours, and you can book a tour at galwayfoodtours.ie. Mickela's website is travelbarefeet.com, and you can book a tour with Gráinne and Flavour Trails at flavortrails.ie, and flavor is spelled Flavor. And speaking of Ireland, we'll have Sheena back next week for more Galway talk, including a 15-course tasting menu with whiskey pairings and a fish called Sweaty Betty. Be sure to subscribe to Destination Eat Drink so you don't miss that. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson. I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.